Hi, I'm Meg Purser and I was a committee member from 2000 to 2006 and was made a life member in 2007. I was actually introduced to the Newcastle Business Club by David Simmons, who at the time was the CEO of the Hunter Business Chamber. And it was a time when you were actually invited to become a member and you had to be introduced by two members. So at the time, David sponsored me and my father sponsored me. And that was back in 1996. And I was a member for about 4 years, and then I got a phone call from a lovely lady called Jane Gray who said, Meg, I think you should come along to a committee member because we'd really like to have a chat to you about joining the committee. And that was in 2000. And that year was actually the same year that the very first female president, Fiona Glenn, became the president. And and I've enjoyed a wonderful membership from then and continue to support others to be involved with the club, and my colleagues, my clients, and lots of people in Newcastle. I think it's a really worthwhile club to be involved in. Back in 2000, and it wasn't that long ago, the club actually had a meeting virtually every week. So I think there were 42 meetings back in the day. So my role really was a bit diverse, if not very busy. Great opportunity for learning though. I got to work with an amazing group of committee members, including the wonderful Roy Watson, who had been involved at the club, I think at that point for more than 20 odd years. And my role really was very much about helping them communicate in a very changing communication landscape, which included things like the website and newsletters and all of those things pre-social media. But it was very much about also working with the media, the local media, because in those days the club was very much about a place for organisations to announce news to the business community, because we weren't on Facebook and we didn't see it every moment of the day. So it was very much about working with the speakers and with those members that were involved in the committee to actually really communicate that out to a much broader audience. So I think, in my time, one of the great achievements at the time was to buy a digital camera, which was quite state of the art back in the day, and to actually get an email address for us. Now I do sound like a dinosaur, but I promise it wasn't that long ago. Funny things. Look, there were a dozen every year at least. We had major performers coming into Newcastle and not knowing where Newcastle was, halfway up the old F3 as it was called. But probably a very memorable event was when my father Bob Purser and I joined up with my fellow committee member Paul Newey and my partner Scott Mills, and we played in the golf day. And Scott's a fair golfer, Dad's a fair golfer, Paul and I not so much, but we managed to take out the cup and I became the first female to have my name on the Newcastle Business Men's Golf Club Cup, and that was pretty memorable. Probably what I loved about the club so much was the diversity of the speakers that were able to come along, and as I said, there were 42 or 43 events every year, so plenty of opportunity. And we had everybody from John English through to Yahoo Serious, who empowered us all that if we really wanted to change our names, then, and wanted to be called He Who Runs With Ducks, then that was quite appropriate. Right through to some of the region's most innovative, at the time, biggest organisations announcing significant things about their business, to partnerships being formed, to opportunities for networking and for small businesses, which was really, at the time, a very important part of the club, was to really understand that small business landscape that had grown from, the landscape of ex-BHP, to really enabling organisations like ours and like many others that now exist in the club to actually connect, to use the club as a way of a professional network, but to also understand how they fit within the community. So, I was really pleased to meet so many fantastic people, but also so many fantastic Novocastrians. Some of the really great stuff that happened was at committee level, and we met, monthly. But some of the things that happened out of that have been lifelong connections for me, not just in a business sense, but as friends, as mentors. And the committee back in the day used to hold a committee, past presidents and life members dinner at the Newcastle Club, and some of the most I met some of the most amazing people at those dinners, and connected with, particularly as a young business person at the time, connected with people that have really enabled me to carve out my direction in business. So we had a lot of fun working out what menus were going to be and how we were going to plan Christmas parties, and the annual awards was a really important piece in that, and something that indeed my father had been involved with right from back in the 70s, when we used to help you write the testimonials. So working in that kind of thing was really important, and it was such a great learning experience for me as a young professional at the time. So yeah, committees were lots of fun, great people, great opportunity. Our connection with the business club extended way beyond my membership, and indeed it started with my father's membership of the club back in the sort of early 80s, where Bob never actually participated as a committee member, but he, like all good PR consultants, worked behind the scenes to help things happen. And the awards was a really important part of that, and the award, we'd inherited this description of how you contributed to the common weal of the city, which today I think still people say, what's a common weal? But what Bob did was actually help to actually write the testimonials that then appeared as part of that award. So actually explaining out what a common weal was and how that organisation or that person had actually contributed to that. So I can hardly believe it's been 10 years since the 75th, and as part of that 75th, I actually worked with Holly Martin, and we produced a book for Martin Matthews that captured the history of the club, and we had a lot of fun piling through some of the old Vision magazines and some of the records that the lovely Ro Watson had left for us. Much to my surprise and great honour, at the dinner that we'd held at Newcastle City Hall on the night, I was actually announced as a life member, which was a great surprise, and I believe the first female one too, just saying. So, like all committees, there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, and back in the day, I didn't actually have a physical title. I was a committee member, but I really did a lot of work behind the scenes for the presidents, particularly. I worked with some incredibly fantastic and talented presidents, and a lot of fun. And between us, we actually had to organise 42 speakers and presidents' columns and media statements and media liaison, writing newsletters, getting photographs, all those sorts of things, and connecting with other leaders around Newcastle to ensure that they were coming along to the meetings and so forth as well. So probably back in the day, there was probably a good 5 or 6 hours a week that actually went into club activities, and I enjoyed every moment of it, just about.
Visit www.newcastlebusinessclub.com.au to learn more.